Part 1. The Whispering Dark. For 300 years, the aliens of the Galactic Coalition told stories about them. Every species, from the tall blue Vashran to the small gray Kolathi, knew the legend. Parents told their children about beings who lived in the darkness between stars. Ships that no scanner could find. Warriors who came from nowhere and disappeared like smoke in the wind. They called them the Phantom. Walkers. Some said they were ancient gods who protected the innocent. Others believed they were spirits of dead warriors who refused to rest. Most thought they were just stories. Fairy tales to make children feel safe at night. Admiral Kethra of the Vashran High Fleet did not believe in fairy tales. She was old and wise, with silver scales and eyes that had seen 1,000 battles. She commanded the greatest warship in the Coalition Navy. She trusted only what she could see with her own eyes and touch with her own hands. On the day, everything changed. She was leading her fleet through the Velix system. 12 warships under her command, carrying thousands of her people. They were responding to a distress signal from a small mining colony on the third planet. The signal had been strange, full of fear. The colonists spoke of dark ships appearing from nowhere. Ships that blocked out the stars. Kethra did not know what she would find. But she was not afraid. She had fought many enemies in her long life. She had never lost a battle. Then she saw them. The Dominion. They came from the far edge of the galaxy, from a place no coalition ship had ever visited. They were conquerors, destroyers. They moved from star to star, crushing everything in their path. Entire civilizations had fallen before them. Billions of beings had died or been taken as slaves. Their ships were massive, black as night and covered in weapons. The smallest of them was larger than Kethra's flagship, and there were hundreds of them, filling the space around Velix like a swarm of deadly insects. Kethra's fleet opened fire immediately. Her crews were trained and brave. Their weapons were the best the Coalition could build. But it was not enough. It was never going to be enough. The battle lasted less than 1 hour. When it was over, 11 of Kethra's 12 ships were burning wreckage. The colony on the planet below was gone. Its surface turned to glass by orbital bombardment. Kethra's flagship drifted through the debris, its engines dead, its weapons destroyed. She sat in her command chair and watched the Dominion fleet surround her. She knew she was going to die. She only hoped it would be quick. She thought about her home world, her family, the grandchildren she would never see grow up. And then she did something she had not done since she was a small child. She prayed, not to any god she believed in, but to the legend. To the Phantom Walkers. Please, she thought. If you are real, help us now. Far away, on the other side of the galaxy, a man named Sam Bradley was drinking coffee on the bridge of his ship. Sam was not remarkable to look at. He was of average height, with brown hair going gray at the temples and tired lines around his eyes. He wore the simple uniform of the United Earth Fleet, with no medals or decorations. He had served for 20 years, fought in 3 wars, and lost more friends than he cared to count. His ship was called the Horizon. She was a light cruiser, small and fast, designed for patrol and reconnaissance. Her crew of 200 were good people, loyal, brave. They had followed Sam through many dangers. Today was supposed to be a quiet day. They were patrolling the outer edge of human space, watching for pirates and smugglers. Nothing exciting, nothing dangerous. Then the message came. Lieutenant Kate Morrison was the first to hear it. She was young, with red hair and sharp eyes, and she was very good at her job. She listened to the transmission 3 times before she spoke. "Commander," she said, "you need to hear this." She played the message through the bridge speakers. It was broken and full of static, but the meaning was clear. Somewhere out there, people were dying. An entire civilization was being destroyed. They were begging for help from anyone who could hear them. Sam listened in silence. His coffee grew cold in his hand. When the message ended, he set the cup down very carefully. "Where is this coming from?" he asked. Kate checked her console. "The Velix system. It is very far from here, Commander. Beyond Coalition space. Can we reach it?" "Yes, but it will take everything our engines have." "And, sir," she hesitated, "we have no idea what we are flying into. This could be a trap." Sam nodded slowly. He looked around the bridge at his crew. They were watching him, waiting for his decision. He could see the fear in some of their eyes. But he could also see something else. Something that made him proud. "Lieutenant Danny Vega," he said to his communications officer, a young man with dark hair and an easy smile, "send a message to Fleet Command. Tell them we are responding to a distress call in the Velix system." Danny nodded. "Yes, sir. What should I tell them about our expected return?" Sam was quiet for a moment. "Tell them we will return when the job is done." He turned to his helmsman, a calm woman named Lisa Park, who had been flying ships since she was 16 years old. "Lisa, set a course for Velix. Maximum speed." Lisa's hands moved across her console. "Course set, Commander. We will arrive in 4 hours." Sam stood up from his chair. He looked out the main window at the stars stretching into the distance. Out there, somewhere, people he had never met were fighting for their lives. They were calling for help, and no one was answering. "Lieutenant Morrison," he said quietly, "send a message on all Coalition frequencies. Let them know that help is coming." Kate looked at him with surprise. "Sir, that will reveal our position to everyone in the sector, including whoever is attacking that system." Sam nodded. "I know, but those people need to know that they are not alone. Sometimes, hope is the most powerful weapon we have." The Horizon jumped to faster than light speed, her hull groaning as she pushed beyond her normal limits. 200 humans hurtled through the darkness toward an unknown enemy, knowing they might not survive, but they went anyway, because that is what humans do. And far away, in the wreckage of her dying fleet, Admiral Kethra saw something appear on her damaged sensors. A single ship, small and fragile, racing toward the battle. She did not know who they were. She did not know where they came from. But for the first time in hours, she felt something stir in her heart. Hope. Part 2. Into the Fire. The Horizon dropped out of faster than light speed and entered hell. Sam Bradley had seen war before. He had watched cities burn and ships explode. He thought he understood what destruction looked like. But nothing in his life had prepared him for what he saw in the Velix system. 3 planets were dying. Their surfaces glowed orange and red from the fires that covered them. Oceans had boiled away into steam. Mountains had melted into rivers of liquid rock. Billions of lives gone in a matter of hours. The space around the planets was filled with wreckage. Thousands of pieces of destroyed ships tumbled slowly through the void. Some were still burning. Some had bodies floating near them. An entire fleet had been killed here, and the killers were still present. The Dominion war fleet spread across the system like a dark cloud. Their ships were even larger than the reports had suggested. The smallest of their destroyers was twice the size of the Horizon. Their cruisers were like small moons made of metal and weapons. And at the center of the formation sat their flagship, a monster that was nearly 20 kilometers long. Lieutenant Maria Santos, the executive officer of the Horizon, stood next to Sam and stared at the display screen. Her dark hair was pulled back tight, and her hands were shaking slightly. "Commander," she said softly, "there are over 200 enemy ships out there. We have no chance against that kind of force." Sam did not answer immediately. He was looking at another part of the screen, where a single damaged ship drifted among the debris. It was the Vashran flagship, the last survivor of the Coalition defense fleet. His sensors told him there were still 400 living beings aboard. "Kate," he said, "can you identify that ship?" Kate Morrison ran the scan twice to be sure. "Yes, sir." It is the voice of Dawn, flagship of Admiral Kethra. Their engines are dead. Their weapons are destroyed. They are completely helpless. And the Dominion? They have not destroyed it yet. I think they are keeping it as a trophy. Or maybe they want prisoners. Sam felt something cold settle in his stomach. He knew what happened to prisoners of the Dominion. The stories had reached human space years ago. Death was the kindest thing those aliens offered their captives. He thought about his daughter Sophie back on Earth. She was 12 years old, with her mother's eyes and her father's stubborn nature. He had promised her he would come home safe, but he had also made another promise long ago. A promise to himself. A promise about what kind of man he wanted to be. "All hands," he said into the ship-wide communication system. "This is Commander Bradley. I need everyone to listen carefully." He paused, gathering his thoughts. Out there is an enemy fleet large enough to destroy us 100 times over. Out there is a ship full of people who are going to die unless someone helps them. Every rule, every regulation, every piece of common sense tells us to turn around and run. And no one would blame us if we did. He looked around the bridge. His crew was watching him with wide eyes. Danny Vega had stopped typing. Lisa Park had taken her hands off the controls. Even Maria Santos, who always had something to say, was silent. "But I did not join the fleet to follow the safe path," Sam continued. "I joined because I believed that when innocent people needed help, someone should answer. Today, we are that someone. In a few minutes, we are going to fly into that debris field and rescue those people. Some of us might not survive. I will not order anyone to do this. If you want to leave, I will note it in the log as a personal decision, and there will be no punishment." He waited. No one moved. No one spoke. Finally, Danny Vega raised his hand. "Sir, with respect, please stop talking and let us do our jobs." We all knew what we signed up for. A small laugh ran through the bridge. Sam felt his chest tighten with pride. "Very well," he said. "Lisa, take us in. Best speed. And Danny, broadcast our position on all frequencies." Danny blinked. "Sir, that will tell the Dominion exactly where we are." "I know. I want them to see us." Lisa Park pushed the engines to their limit. The horizon shot forward, a tiny spark of light against the endless darkness. Alarms began to sound as the Dominion fleet detected them. On the Vashran flagship, Admiral Kethra watched the human ship approach with disbelief. She had received their message, but she had not truly believed anyone would come. Who would be foolish enough to challenge the Dominion with a single small vessel? She opened the communication channel. "Unknown ship, this is Admiral Kethra. Turn back immediately. You cannot help us. The Dominion will destroy you." Sam's voice came back through the speakers, calm and steady. "Admiral, my name is Commander Sam Bradley of the United Earth Fleet. We received your distress call. We are here to help." Kethra did not understand. "You are one ship. They are hundreds. This is suicide." "Maybe," Sam replied, "but you called for help. And help is what you are going to get." The Dominion Supreme Commander Vexcor watched the small ship approach with amusement. He was a massive creature, with 4 arms and skin like black stone. He had conquered 47 species in his career. He had destroyed worlds and broken empires. This tiny vessel was nothing to him. "What is this?" he asked his second in command. "Unknown species, Supreme Commander. Our records call them humans. They are considered primitive, harmless." Vexcor made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Destroy it. I do not wish to waste any more time here. 12 Dominion cruisers turned their weapons toward the horizon. Energy built in their cannons, enough firepower to shatter a small moon. They fired, and the horizon danced. Sam had trained his crew for years in what he called unconventional movement. Other commanders flew their ships in straight lines and predictable patterns. Sam taught his people to think differently, to move in ways that made no logical sense, to be where the enemy did not expect them to be. Lisa Park was the best pilot he had ever seen. Her hands moved across the controls like a musician playing an instrument. The horizon twisted and spun through the barrage of enemy fire, missing death by meters. Shields at 60%, Kate reported. Returning fire. The horizon's weapons were small compared to the Dominion fleet, but they were precise. Her railguns found weak points in enemy armor. Her missiles slipped through gaps in shield coverage. 2 Dominion cruisers went dark as their engines exploded, but it was not enough. It could never be enough. A Dominion dreadnought locked onto them. Its main cannon began to charge with enough energy to vaporize the horizon completely. Sam looked at the display and knew they had seconds left to live. "It has been an honor," he said quietly to his crew, and then the darkness came alive. Part 3. The ghosts awakened one moment. The space around the Dominion fleet was empty. The next moment, it was full of ships. They appeared from nowhere. No warning on any sensor. No energy signature. No sign at all that they had been there all along, watching, waiting. Human ships. Dozens of them materialized out of the darkness like spirits rising from a grave. Destroyers with sleek hulls built for speed. Cruisers carrying enough weapons to crack open planets. Carriers launching swarms of small fighter craft. And at the center of them all, a battleship so massive that it made even the Dominion flagship look small. The USS Valiant. She was 5 kilometers long and covered in armor, thick enough to stop anything short of a direct nuclear strike. Her weapon systems were beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. And standing on her bridge, calm as a man watching the sunset, was Vice Admiral Nathan Cole. Nathan was 60 years old, with white hair and a face lined by decades of hard choices. He had spent his entire career developing the technology that made this moment possible. Stealth systems that could hide entire fleets from any scanner. Engines that ran silent as the void itself. Ships that could travel through space without leaving any trace. The galaxy had told stories about the Phantom Walkers for 300 years. They had been right to be afraid. Nathan opened a communication channel that broadcast on every frequency in the system. "This is Vice Admiral Nathan Cole of the United Earth Fleet. You have attacked innocent civilians. You have destroyed peaceful worlds. You have threatened our allies." He paused, letting his words sink in. "You have one chance to surrender. I suggest you take it." On the Dominion flagship, Supreme Commander Vexcor stared at his display screens with shock that quickly turned to rage. He had never been surprised in battle. He had never faced an enemy he could not see. His perfect record, his reputation as an unbeatable conqueror, was being challenged by creatures he had dismissed as primitive. Where did they come from? He screamed at his crew. How did they hide from our sensors? No one had an answer. Their technology, the most advanced in the known galaxy, had failed completely. These humans had done something that should have been impossible. Vexcor made his decision in an instant. He would not surrender. He would not retreat. He would crush these ghosts and prove that the Dominion could not be defeated. "All ships," he commanded, "open fire. Destroy them all." The Dominion fleet turned its weapons toward the human vessels. Thousands of cannons charged with deadly energy. Missiles launched from hundreds of tubes. The most powerful military force in the galaxy unleashed its full fury. Nathan Cole watched the incoming fire with no fear in his eyes. "All ships," he said calmly. "Execute pattern Phantom." The human fleet vanished, not literally. They were still there, but they moved in ways that made them almost impossible to hit. Ships blinked out of existence and reappeared hundreds of kilometers away. Others split into what looked like multiple copies of themselves, confusing enemy targeting systems. Still others dropped back into complete invisibility, becoming ghosts once more. And while the Dominion struggled to find targets, the humans struck back. The Valiant's main cannons fired beams of pure energy that cut through Dominion armor like it was paper. Human destroyers appeared behind enemy cruisers and unloaded their weapons into unprotected engine sections. Fighters swarmed over dreadnoughts, targeting sensor arrays and weapon ports. Admiral Kethra watched from her damaged ship with tears running down her scaled face. In 300 years of military service, she had never seen anything like this. The humans fought as if they could read the enemy's minds. They knew where the Dominion ships would be before the Dominion ships knew themselves. Sam Bradley and the crew of the Horizon found themselves in the middle of the chaos. Their ship was damaged, but still functional. Lisa Park kept them moving, dodging debris and enemy fire while Kate Morrison coordinated with the larger fleet. "Commander," Danny Vega called out. "The Valiant is hailing us." Sam nodded. "Put it through." Nathan Cole's face appeared on the screen. Despite the battle raging around them, he looked almost relaxed. "Commander Bradley, I see you started the party without us. Nice flying out there." Sam managed a small smile. "We try to make a good first impression, Admiral. Thank you for the backup. Thank you for forcing our hand. We have been watching from the shadows for too long. It was time to step into the light." Nathan's expression grew serious. "Now, if you do not mind, I need to finish this." Cole out. The communication ended. Sam turned back to the battle display and watched as the human fleet continued its impossible dance. The Dominion were not prepared for this kind of warfare. Their tactics depended on overwhelming force. They attacked in straight lines, fired in predictable patterns, and expected their enemies to fight the same way. The humans did none of these things. 1 hour into the battle, the Dominion had lost 50 ships. 2 hours in, they had lost 100. Their commanders screamed orders that made no sense. Their crews panicked and began firing at shadows. Vexcor watched his fleet die around him and felt something he had never experienced in his long career: fear. Supreme. "Commander," his second-in-command said, "we must retreat. We are losing this battle." Vexcor wanted to argue. He wanted to fight to the last ship. But even his pride could not deny what his eyes were showing him. The humans were winning. These primitive, harmless creatures were destroying the most powerful fleet the Dominion had ever assembled. "All ships," he said through clenched teeth, "retreat. Fall back to Dominion space." What remained of the Dominion fleet turned and ran. Their faster-than-light drives activated, and one by one, the black ships vanished into the void. The last to leave was Vexcor's flagship, and before it jumped away, the Supreme Commander sent one final message. "This is not over, humans. I will return with a force large enough to burn your worlds to ash. You have made an enemy today that you cannot imagine." Nathan Cole's response was brief. "We will be waiting." And then the Dominion were gone. The Velix system fell silent. The human fleet stopped firing and began rescue operations. The Horizon limped toward the Vashran flagship to help with medical evacuations. Sam Bradley sat back in his chair and let out a long breath. His hands were shaking. His heart was pounding. They had survived. Against all odds, they had survived. "Sir," Kate said softly, "Admiral Kethra is requesting permission to come aboard." Sam nodded. "Tell her she is welcome." And Kate? Yes, sir? Excellent work today. All of you. He looked around at his crew, his family. I could not ask for better people to fly with. The bridge was quiet for a moment. Then Danny Vega spoke up. So, does this mean we get a raise? The laughter that followed was the best sound Sam had heard in a very long time. Part 4. The truth behind the legend Admiral Kethra had commanded warships for 60 years. She had walked on alien worlds and faced enemies that would give most beings nightmares. She was not easily impressed, but as she stepped aboard the USS Valiant, she felt like a small child seeing the stars for the first time. The ship was beyond anything she had imagined. The corridors were clean and well lit, filled with humans moving quickly but calmly. They nodded to her with respect as she passed. Their faces showed no fear, no hatred, no superiority, just quiet confidence. A young officer led her through the ship to a room near the bridge. The door opened, and she found herself in a simple space. A few chairs, a table, windows looking out at the stars. And sitting behind the table, Vice Admiral Nathan Cole. He stood when she entered and offered his hand in the human greeting. Kethra had read about this custom, and she took his hand carefully. Admiral Kethra, Nathan said warmly. Welcome aboard. Please, sit. Can I offer you anything to drink? She sat down slowly, her mind still trying to process everything that had happened. No, thank you. I have too many questions to think about drinking. Nathan smiled and sat across from her. I imagine you do. Ask whatever you like. You have earned answers. Kethra stared at him for a long moment. How? That is my first question. How did you do this? Your species was discovered by Coalition scouts only 50 years ago. Our reports said you were primitive. You had barely reached your own moon. You were decades away from faster-than-light travel. Nathan leaned back in his chair. His eyes grew distant, as if he was looking at something very far away. Those reports were not wrong, he said. They were exactly what we wanted you to see. Kethra blinked. I do not understand. Nathan stood and walked to the window. Outside, human ships were moving through the debris field, rescuing survivors and collecting the dead. 200 years ago, humanity discovered faster-than-light travel. We were excited. We could not wait to meet other species, to join the galactic community. But first, we decided to watch, to learn. We sent small ships to observe other civilizations without being seen. He turned back to face her. What we saw frightened us. The galaxy was not the friendly place we had hoped for. Every aggressive species was either destroyed or forced into endless wars. The peaceful ones were conquered or enslaved. There was no room for weakness. No mercy for those who could not defend themselves. Kethra nodded slowly. This was true. She had seen it herself throughout her career. So we made a choice, Nathan continued. We would not announce ourselves. We would not join the coalition or any other alliance. Instead, we would hide. We would build our strength in secret. We would develop technologies that no one else had. And we would wait. Wait for what? Nathan sat back down. For the right moment. The moment when we could make a real difference. The door opened and Sam Bradley entered. His uniform was still dirty from the battle, but he walked with the same calm confidence as every other human Kethra had met. He nodded to her and took a seat next to Nathan. Admiral, Nathan said, this is Commander Bradley, the man who answered your distress call. Kethra looked at Sam. This ordinary-looking human had charged into certain death to save strangers he had never met. She had commanded thousands of soldiers in her career, but she was not sure any of them would have done what he did. Why? She asked him directly. Why did you come? You had no reason to help us. We are not your people. We are not even your species. Sam was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was soft but steady. When I was young, my grandfather told me a story. He said that long ago, humans were afraid of everything. We were small and weak, and the world was full of dangers we could not understand. But instead of hiding forever, we learned to stand together. We learned that when one of us was in trouble, all of us were in trouble. We learned that courage was not the absence of fear. It was the choice to act, even when you were afraid. He looked at Kethra with tired eyes that had seen too much pain. Your people called for help. I heard you. I could not turn away and still call myself human. Kethra felt something strange in her chest. It took her a moment to recognize it. It was emotion. Something she had learned to suppress long ago. The Phantom Walkers, she said slowly. The legends that every coalition child grows up hearing. The mysterious protectors who appear from nowhere and save the helpless. That was you. That was always you. Nathan nodded. We did not plan it that way at first. In the beginning, we just intervened when we saw terrible injustice. We would destroy a slave ship here, protect a refugee convoy there. We never stayed long enough to be identified. But over time, the stories spread. The legend grew. Why did you not reveal yourself sooner? Because we were not ready, Nathan admitted. We needed time to build our strength. Time to develop the technology that would let us stand against empires like the Dominion. And honestly, we were not sure the galaxy was ready for us. He smiled slightly. Commander Bradley changed our minds. When he took his ship into that battle alone, he showed us something we had forgotten. Sometimes you cannot wait for the perfect moment. Sometimes you have to act now with whatever you have, because people are counting on you. Kethra turned to Sam. You could have died. You almost did die. Sam shrugged. Probably. But I would rather die trying to help someone than live knowing I ran away when they needed me. There was silence in the room. Outside, the stars shone cold and distant. But somehow, Kethra did not feel cold anymore. What happens now? She asked. Nathan stood. Now, we stop hiding. The Dominion knows we exist. They will come back with a larger fleet. They will try to destroy us. And when they do, we will be ready. You will need allies, Kethra said. Nathan smiled. Are you offering? Kethra thought about her destroyed fleet. Her dead friends. The billions of beings the Dominion had killed in their march across the galaxy. She thought about the stories she had been told as a child. About protectors who came from the stars to save the innocent. She stood and offered her hand in the human way. I believe I am. Nathan took her hand and shook it firmly. Then welcome to the Alliance. Admiral. We have a lot of work to do. Part 5. The dawn of a new era. The news spread across the galaxy, faster than any ship could travel. The Phantom Walkers were real. They were human. And they had just defeated the most feared military force in known space. On 100 worlds, beings who had grown up hearing the old legends looked at each other in amazement. The stories their grandparents had told them, the tales they had dismissed as fantasy, were true. The protectors existed, and they had finally stepped out of the shadows. The Galactic Coalition called an emergency meeting. Representatives from every member species traveled to the Great Assembly Hall on the capital world. The building was ancient, built thousands of years ago by species long since extinct. Its walls had witnessed the signing of peace treaties and declarations of war. But nothing in its long history compared to what was about to happen. The human delegation arrived in a single shuttle. There were no large warships, no show of force. Just a small group of men and women in simple uniforms. Nathan Cole led them. Beside him walked Sam Bradley, Kate Morrison, and a dozen other officers who had fought at Velix. They entered the assembly hall. and found themselves surrounded by thousands of alien faces. Some were tall and scaled like the Vacheron. Others were small and gray like the Colothi. There were beings with tentacles, beings with wings, beings that seemed to be made of living light. Every shape, every color, every form of intelligent life that had found its way to the stars dot, and all of them were staring at the humans. The Coalition Chancellor was an old Sindari named Mevton. He had held his position for 40 years, guiding the Coalition through wars and disasters. His hands trembled as he approached the human delegation. "For 300 years," he said, his voice echoing through the silent hall, "we told stories of beings who protected us from the darkness. We called them phantom walkers. We thought they were myths, legends to comfort frightened children." He stopped in front of Nathan Cole and looked up at the human with ancient eyes. "But you were real. You were always real." Nathan shook his head slowly. "We are not legends, Chancellor. We are not gods or spirits. We are just people. People who believe that the strong should protect the weak. People who believe that no one should face the darkness alone." He looked around the assembly hall at all the beings watching him. "We hid from you for a long time. We were afraid of what would happen if we revealed ourselves. We were afraid we were not ready. But we have learned that there is never a perfect moment. There is only now. And right now, the galaxy needs everyone who is willing to stand against evil." Sam Bradley stepped forward. "The Dominion will return. They are angry, and they are dangerous. They will bring more ships, more weapons, more soldiers. They will try to destroy everyone who stood against them at Vilix." He paused, making sure everyone was listening. "But they will fail. They will fail because we will face them together. Not as separate species fighting for our own survival, but as one people united by a common cause. We will show them that the galaxy is not theirs to conquer. We will show them that courage cannot be defeated by fear." The assembly hall was silent for a long moment. Then Mevtum raised his hand and placed it over his heart in the Sindari gesture of respect. "On behalf of the Galactic Coalition," he said, "I welcome humanity to our family. May we stand together in the light." One by one, the other representatives made their own gestures of welcome. Hands raised, tentacles extended, wings spread wide. 1,000 different species, united for the first time in history, thought the ceremonies lasted for many days. Treaties were signed. Alliances were formed. Human engineers began sharing their stealth technology with Coalition scientists. Human doctors worked alongside alien healers to treat the wounded from Vilix. Human ships patrolled the borders of Coalition space, watching for signs of Dominion return. But through it all, the humans remained humble. They did not ask for power or control. They did not demand anything in return for their help. They simply did what needed to be done, and they did it with quiet efficiency. 2 weeks after the battle, Sam Bradley finally returned home. Earth was beautiful from orbit. Blue oceans and green continents spinning slowly against the black void of space. Sam had seen many worlds in his career, but none of them compared to this one. This was home. His shuttle landed at the spaceport in the middle of the night. He walked through the empty corridors, carrying only a small bag of personal belongings. He was tired, more tired than he had ever been in his life. A small figure was waiting for him at the exit. Sophie Bradley was 12 years old. She had her mother's dark hair and her father's stubborn chin. When she saw him, she ran forward and threw her arms around him. Sam held his daughter tight and felt tears running down his face. He had not cried in years, not since his wife had died. But now, surrounded by the familiar smells of Earth, holding his child in his arms, he could not stop himself. "Dad," Sophie said, her voice muffled against his chest. "Everyone is saying you are a hero. They say you saved millions of people." Sam pulled back and looked at her face. "I just did what anyone would do." When people need help, you help them. That is what being human means. Sophie thought about this for a moment. Then she smiled. Can we get ice cream? Sam laughed. It was a real laugh, warm and free. It is 2 a.m, so he picked up his bag and took her hand. You know what? You are absolutely right. Let us get ice cream. They walked out of the spaceport together, father and daughter, into the cool night air of Earth. Above them, the stars shone bright and clear. Somewhere out there, the Dominion was gathering its forces. Somewhere out there, new threats were waiting to emerge. The galaxy was vast and dangerous, and humanity had just announced its presence to every power that might want to destroy them. But Sam was not afraid. He had seen what humans could do when they worked together. He had seen courage overcome impossible odds. He had seen hope burn brighter than any weapon, whatever came next. They would face it as they had always faced the darkness, together, and far away in the depths of space. Admiral Kethra looked out the window of her new ship at the human fleet escorting her home. She thought about the old stories she had heard as a child. The Phantom Walkers, the mysterious protectors, the ghosts who guarded the innocent. The stories had been true all along, but now the ghosts had names. They had faces. They were friends, and the galaxy would never be the same.